Alrighty, it is the first of the season. The Pittsburgh Hockey Now live chat. Hola from Shea Kingerski home studios. Hey, I am Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now, the editor-in-chief, and I thank you all for joining us. And I saw a handful of folks waiting. If you ever are part of these chats, you know I'm never exactly on time. But we're going to dive into some Penguins trade rumors. We're going to actually more dissect the trade rumors and go over the older rumors because actually a couple of sources have been sharing some information with Pittsburgh Hockey Now over the last couple of days, giving us a bit more of a clear picture of what happened, what almost happened on the eve of the regular season. So we're going to dive headlong into that. Give me one quick second here, because I am going to share this on Twitter real quick so everyone else can join us. And I guess I should also pop it on Facebook, too. I don't know if you all kind of know my history. Some of you have just been kind of finding me over the past 6, 8, 10, 12 months or so. You know, here's the unique thing about me. At heart, I'm still a radio guy. I spent 20 years behind the microphone. Actually, kind of started in Williamsport, PA. But, you know, when I started in sports, it was in Pittsburgh, and I kind of built myself up from really absolute nothing. Eventually hit the NHL network on, I think it was like maybe 2007. I began doing, on NHL home ice for Sirius XM, and then 2012, I got the call to, we were on Sportsnet across Canada, syndicated across Canada, and it's been a fun ride. Came back to Pittsburgh in 2014, and this little Pittsburgh Hockey Now craziness. In fact, let me, where is it? Well, you'll have to just live with that for the moment. I had something else to put on the screen, but so I've worked in the minor leagues. I've covered hockey now for, next year will be the, I guess in 2 years. This is year 18. In 2 years, I get my 20-year chip. Let me share this real quick before what we're going to talk about on the big show today. We are going to, of course, hit those trade rumors. I'm going to tell you exactly everything we know about what almost went down and what did go down on the eve of the regular season. Remember all that he said kind of trade rumor stuff, and it was all kind of going crazy. We've been given a bit more context and info on that, and I'll dive into that. We'll also talk about the Penguins' defensive pairings. I think they've really have not been good. I think the coaching staff has maybe outthought themselves just a little bit over the last couple of games, and we've seen the results of that. The Penguins have lost 3 in a row. They'll be in Dallas on Saturday. And Dallas is not exactly an easy team to score against. They were top 5 last year. I think they might have actually been. The Islanders, I think, were first, and then Dallas was second in terms of allowing goals against, Ben Bishop, and that defense really just clamped down. Caps lock was on. Bear with me here. Okay. I want to get to plus we'll get, of course, to your chats and comments. Always appreciate that. Matthew Clark, so ready for the show. Good, Matt. I've been getting a lot of requests for it, and my schedule with 3 websites, I have another business that we've launched, not a sports media business, and that is taking up a lot of my time as well. And I generally work 16, 18 hours a day. If you see me out having fun, yell at me and say, Dan, get back to work, because I'm probably slacking off. Lots to do. So let's get straight. I can't see it, actually. Let me try this. By the way, these big, thick glasses, what do you think? In one mirror, I'm like, okay, they play, they work. Look at another mirror, and I'm like, my God, I'd kick my own ass. I know you'll be nice. Don't be nice. Let's start there. Penguins trade talks. And we had something on Pittsburgh Hockey Now on Thursday morning. And hopefully you had a chance to read it. But cutting to the chase now. In the locker room, at least one player was told of a pending move. Wasn't Jack Johnson. Well, he may have been. We have never received confirmation on that. You remember the story. Pittsburgh Hockey Now had the exclusive counter trade rumor the next day that, Johnson saying, listen, no one told me that. Unless it came from Jim Rutherford or from me, no. He put the boots to it pretty hard. There was another player in the locker room who was told of a pending move that would directly affect his status. Now, I'm being overly cautious because we were given the information on the condition that we didn't name names. I know it's a little bit fuzzy. I'm not entirely on board with that. But it's all kind of part of this business, and sometimes you have to play the game. And so what we were told is a player in the locker room was told that a deal was close, which would directly affect his status. Now, tied into this is the Casey DeSmith situation. DeSmith, of course, the backup goalie last year, it's quite obvious to me, being around everything, that all things being equal, meaning salaries being equal, the Penguins coaching staff, Mike Sullivan, would have kept Casey DeSmith over Tristan Jarry. I don't know if management would have done that, but I'm quite convinced the coaches would have done that. And so I want to be quite clear on that. DeSmith sent down to Wilkes-Barre. The Penguins recoup essentially, because no one claimed him, $1.05 million, which is a savings of about $350,000 over sending Tristan Jarry back down to Wilkes-Barre. Now, I think the move has worked out splendidly for the Penguins. Tristan Jarry might have a couple losses on him, but he's been absolutely spectacular. I thought he was, again, brilliant on Wednesday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Penguins allowed a lot of high danger chances. Now, they had a fair amount of their own, kind of in a couple bunches, which closed the gap if you looked at the advanced statistics. But overall, Tampa Bay dominated in the areas that Tampa Bay wanted to dominate. So the difference of the game was indeed Tristan Jarry. Now, how does this affect trade talks? Well, because a player was told of this pending deal, which obviously did not go down, Casey DeSmith was sent to Wilkes-Barre because the Penguins really didn't have the money to bring DeSmith up. And then once you do that, it would look... in theory, the Penguins could have just, once everyone got hurt, made the flip. But I think they're quite convinced Tristan Jarry would not have passed through waivers either. Or they may have sent Jarry down to Wilkes-Barre. That seems to be kind of the piece of the puzzle that makes sense to me. Now that the Penguins are getting healthy, we know that trade talks died that week. Was it because someone was injured? Say Brian Rust, say Alex Galchenyuk, say Nick Bjugstad. Did the Penguins trade talks that week hit a screeching halt because of the injuries? That is what we believe at Pittsburgh Hockey Now. After talking with multiple sources, we believe the injuries played a significant role also in the Penguins' thinking. So kind of put all of that together. As the Penguins get healthy, Brian Rust hopes to come back Saturday. Bob McKenzie on NBC Sports Wednesday night said he believed Nick Bjugstad would be back. I tend to think Bjugstad will be back next week, but hey, you don't doubt the grand poobah, right? You don't doubt McKenzie that much. So the Penguins could be getting a couple of players back here in the next few days. Now, they still have plenty of salary cap space because of Genny Malkin and Alex Galchenyuk are out, and that accounts for somewhere about 14 million bucks that the Penguins are still playing with. So there's no pending move. And as two forwards come off of IR, that just simply means Joe Blandisi and I keep wanting to say Adam Smith. You can tell I'm a politics guy. But Adam Johnson will by NHL law, so it declared, have to go back down to Wilkes-Barre because they were emergency recalls. By the way, quick shout out to our sponsor, Redbeards, downtown and on Mount Washington. Just an adult beer list. Great snack food, great bar food. The wings and the fried foods, which sometimes I just need. Also, they've got some really good entrees as well. And the Redbeards specials every night. Taco Tuesdays and all-you-can-eat wings on Wednesdays. So it's always it's a great place to be. So as the Penguins start getting healthy, we start looking at trade pieces. There's the first guy. I guess that picture is from last year. I see 73 on the helmet. Jack Johnson. It's essentially common knowledge at this point that Jim Rutherford has tried to move Jack Johnson. Whether or not he actually went to Johnson before the eve of the regular season and said, you're on your way, is entirely a matter that we can't confirm. The other guy that... you don't need me either. The other guy that is reportedly on the block per TSN and Bob McKenzie is Eric Goodbranson. And heck, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet put this guy on the block. That is Juuso Riikola. By the way, these last couple of photos have been taken by me. So you can kind of see the smudge on the glass with my brand new iPhone 11. These are the photos that I have taken. So keep those comments coming in. Hop on the message board. We will be getting to those. Jennifer says, I need to believe in Jack Johnson. What say you of this? How does Jacko contribute positively to the team? Thank you. I appreciate that question and the way it's phrased. What you see with Jack Johnson. And I've actually seen a little bit of offensive improvement from Jack Johnson this season. A bit more push, trying to get up the ice a little faster, trying to skate it a few more times. What Jack Johnson has become later in his career, he was an offensive guy, in his younger days. He's become a very stout, low defensive zone defenseman. Takes care of the front of the Penguins' net better than anybody else. Takes care of the puck in terms of turnovers, actually better than anybody else. He has the lowest amount. I don't know about this year, but last year he had a very low number of turnovers. But he's just very good in protecting his space. And that is that 10 feet in front of the net, the 10 feet to side and back. Teams don't beat Jack Johnson in those battle areas. That's what Jack Johnson brings. Now, what happens when he creates a loose puck? Where are the forwards? Where is his defensive partner? All of those things contribute. And yeah, he's probably a C plus defender overall. I don't mean to make him into an A plus defender. He has his warts too. But that's the counterbalance and why the Penguins keep him in the lineup. He's also their best penalty killer because he takes care of those battle areas probably better than anybody else the Penguins have. He is their best penalty killer. So what do you think of the studio? Let me see if I can zoom out. Nope. Let me try this. Okay. Now we'll go back. Here's the studio. You see the USA Hockey jersey. You see King Leo right there. A Beatles concert poster. I found at a flea market like 5 years ago for $10, and I've had it. Always wanted to hang it up. Of course, you know the Penguins banner. The bobbleheads behind me, including floating head shortstop. Kind of a Scrubs reference, I guess, if you don't get it. You see R2 in the background in Pittsburgh, and that's Mickey Mantle and Freddie Sanchez and Yoda. Let me see if... I guess I can't zoom in on Yoda and Freddie Sanchez and Mario Lemieux, because those guys just belong together, don't they? All right, now I have to zoom back in on myself. Okay, so there's the brand new studios for Pittsburgh Sports Live. Shea Kingerski. Kurt says, love the studios. Look great. Thank you, man. It's hopefully the sound is good, too. I see I'm hitting the red just a little bit. I want to try to dial it down a little bit, but I talk loud. What are you going to do, right? All right. So in terms of trade talks, we know Jack Johnson. We know Eric Goodbranson. I'm going to pile another name onto the list, and that's just for those of you who are watching this video. Include Brian Rust in the conversation in a much more serious way than I had known before. Brian Rust, at least before the season, before Jim Rutherford got a look at Dominic Cahoon in the lineup, before Brandon Tanev, and before the puzzle pieces were all on the table, Brian Rust was in serious, he was a serious trade chip. Let's just put it that way. I have to believe that Tristan Jarry was as well. In fact, I think Jim Rutherford's comments in August were to that effect. We tried. Well, I would imagine if the Penguins are hell-bent on dealing Tristan Jarry, it'd be a hell of a lot easier right now after watching his first 3 starts. .938 save percentage. His goals against actually went up last night because of that third goal. In reality, he also has that asterisk goal when he was getting off the ice. He was close to the bench, but he wasn't yet to the bench, and the player, I guess, the extra attacker wasn't yet on the ice, so he got tagged with a goal that way. So those are the trade chips. What the Penguins could want, I genuinely have no idea. I think they need scoring help. And that's why I did some digging on Josh Ho-Sang. Was that 2 weeks ago now? And some other affordable gambles that the Penguins can take. And Ho-Sang was the only positive response that we got, whereas the Penguins, the Penguins apparently, according to New York sources, had indeed kicked the tires on number 66. We haven't been able to find anybody else since Ho-Sang. So everyone who's DMing me, Dan, what are the Penguins going to do? Just for the record, believe me, if I knew, it'll be all over the website, all over Twitter. I'm going to make my money when I find that out. That's for darn sure. I see the comments coming in. The glasses give you a Clark Kent vibe. Is that good or bad, actually? Opinion regarding my own appearance. Yeah, listen, I lay around the house in anyway. Oh, yeah, Kurt, there was a rumor about Ho-Sang? No, it wasn't a rumor. That was us reporting it. That was Pittsburgh Hockey Now sourced report, not a rumor. All right? Aaron says JR could get something for Rust, but as injury-ridden as they've been, is it wise to move him? No, I genuinely don't think it would be wise. Would a Goodbranson or Johnson trade bring much more than salary cap room? Oh, boy, I don't think so. I really, really liked Marcus Pettersson and Eric Goodbranson last season. It surprised me. I was iffy on it, but I really thought that the Penguins had found a great third pairing there with those guys. It didn't. It just. So you know what? It's actually a great springboard to talk about Topic number 2 here on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now, Pittsburgh Sports Live, Penguins chat. By the way, hi, Dan Kingerski, for those of you just joining us, editor-in-chief, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, longtime ne'er-do-well. The Penguins in the last 2 games have put John Marino on the right side of the top pairing and then put Chris Letang on the left side of the top pairing, Letang's off wing, so that they kept Marcus Pettersson and Justin Schultz. And that created the Jack Johnson, Eric Goodbranson third pairing. Dear Lord, I don't get this one. I don't necessarily understand why Pettersson and Schultz have to be together. I don't like it. I don't think it necessarily works all the time. I think Pettersson-Schultz is an all-or-nothing defensive pair. When they get in their own zone, heaven help them. Sometimes they can be outmuscled. They can get scrambly in their own zone. And when those two get scrambly, everything else sort of breaks down. That's not what you want from your second pairing. You know, Justin Schultz can make some mistakes, or Marcus Pettersson can make some mistakes because of the other assets that they bring, but they both can't be making mistakes together. And then you put Johnson and Goodbranson together, which greatly limits your puck moving on the third pairing. You saw last night, Wednesday night, Goodbranson, that blind backhand pass right to Ryan McDonough of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that was just one of those moments because Jack Johnson had made a hit a little bit up ice. A forward was coming back but hadn't gotten there. Goodbranson just kind of put the puck to a spot where he normally would without looking. Oops. That's one of those things where there was no one talking to Goodbranson. Maybe Jari owns a little bit of that, just a small piece. Someone had to be telling Goodbranson forward, go forward on the boards, not back. But when he made that backhand tap, and in fact, additional lineup juggling burned the Penguins on that play. Not just the Johnson-Goodbranson pairing, but Juuso Riikola was the forward who didn't cover Cedric Paquette, who ripped that one-timer from the slot. So, I mean, that's kind of the Penguins outthinking themselves. They could make more safe lineup choices. Juuso Riikola could draw in as a top 6. He's a natural left side guy who brings speed, who brings skating. Smarter hockey guys than I have said they want to see him in the lineup. So I'm not sure the impediment to this. I'm not sure necessarily why the Penguins are forcing Riikola to be a forward. If you want, look, I think Pettersson-Letang could be a great pairing. Slide Johnson back with Schultz, Riikola with Goodbranson. Yeah, Marino has to sit a little bit. Actually, I think it might be time for John Marino to watch a game or two. The adrenaline has worn off. Like with all young players, they have those ebbs and flows, and the toughest part is that consistency. For the moment, if you have to, because Dumoulin is out, you're short on left side defenseman, bring in your spare left side defenseman. That's Juuso Riikola. And so I guess I get to lean back too. How's that? It's and now this I have a large room in my home, and I'll tell you, that's where the new studios are. It's kind of cool, kind of comfortable. I'm wearing slippers. I did stay dressed up just for you, though. My compliments. Let's see here. I think when all healthy, Austin says Bukestad seems most likely to be moved. I don't know about that, Austin. I continue to think, and actually to know, Bukestad, Hornquist are a dynamic third line. And I mean pillar to post, end wall to end wall. Those two dominate the puck like no Penguins third line has since Jordan Staal, Matt Cook, and Tyler Kennedy. And in fact, Bjugstad and Hornquist might dominate the puck more because they're both so much bigger physically and tougher and all of those things. Right there you see Hornquist and Bjugstad. If following the logic of dealing Bjugstad, and believe me, Austin, you're not alone on that. I think the Penguins have investigated that possibility as well. If the Penguins were to deal Bjugstad, that puts Jared McCann back at center. I do not think that Jared McCann is half the center as he is a wing. I think as a winger, he could or should be in the top 6. As a center, fourth liner. He just, maybe he's in his own head. Maybe he's too conservative. Maybe, all of his skills don't translate the same way to center as they do on the wing. A bit of that, he's got a bit of reckless abandon on the wing, which really serves his speed and some of his offensive instincts very well. So that's kind of the 1-2 punch to not deal Nick Bjugstad, is that Jared McCann would be plugged in. Now, I don't believe the Penguins necessarily agree with me. I would show them the last 5 games of stats with Jared McCann. Wednesday night was the first time that with Cahoon and with Hornquist, that line was anything remotely resembling positive. They just really have not clicked nearly well enough. And so, the Penguins would leave themselves very short, very thin at center if they dealt Nick Bjugstad. Okay. Sean says, is it too early to trade Jarry? Need to see what happens. Oh, he says it is too early to deal Jarry. Needs to see what happens with the Murray contract. Sean, I agree with you 100%. I wrote a lot of that in August and some September, that Jarry is Matt Murray insurance. Jarry still has that number 1 pedigree. He was a second-round draft pick just, a handful of years ago now. Was it 2013, 2012? He was the second-round pick. And as such, things were expected of him until Matt Murray rocketed past him. Murray just hit the ground running in the American Hockey League. Surprised everybody. Trust me on that. He was seen as the depth, and Jarry was seen as the heir apparent to Marc-Andre Fleury. Sometime about this year, actually. Then Casey DeSmith hit the ground running. From New Hampshire, he hits the ground running, and all of a sudden, Jarry's development, which has been on pace, maybe a hair slow, or maybe he hasn't necessarily gotten the opportunity. All of a sudden, the Penguins have 3 guys, and Jarry's the last of the 3. I dropped a crap ton of hints in a column earlier this week on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Let me see if I can pull it up here quickly while we talk. I dropped inordinate amount of hints and dot connecting and all of that stuff. Let me pull up that story on Tristan Jarry. Give me 1 second here. Where is it? Okay, here, I buried the quotes within the story here of Tristan Jarry. I guess it was, Tuesday morning I published it. And this is the story to be looking for on PittsburghHockeyNow.com. In fact, let me post this in the comments here. I'll do that and bring you back to me so you don't see all of the browser windows and all of the crazy stuff I've got bookmarked. Where's the chat? Here it is. Here, Jarry story. Look at the quotes from Mike Sullivan, and then read the quotes from Tristan Jarry. Mike Sullivan, when he wants a player to do something different. Last year, prime example, Jake Guentzel was scuffling last December. In fact, Guentzel had been benched for a period, and, he was in a bit of a doldrum. Asked about Jake Guentzel, Mike Sullivan said everything positive that he wanted to see from Guentzel. And he couched it with, well, we've talked with him. His game is best when he does X, Y, and Z, when his game is stiff, when he's skating, when he's moving his feet, when he's creating with Sid, when he's doing all of these things. At the time, he wasn't doing any of those things. And so Sullivan, by praising what he could do, is sending a message to the player, this is what I want you to do. So Sullivan went right to kind of the heart of Tristan Jarry, saying, well, we've had many talks. It's about consistency, maturity, bringing it every day, whether you feel good, whether you don't feel good. I mean, read between the lines. Tristan Jarry is an affable guy. He's a smiley guy. He's a happy guy. The guys in Wilkes-Barre used to say they'd forget he was a goalie, just one of the guys. And as such, I think that runs afoul of Mike Sullivan's culture. Matt Murray is the prototype of a Mike Sullivan kind of guy. He's serious, he's somber, he's intense. When he shows up for work, he's ready to work. And Sidney Crosby, that same sort of culture, leading with such determination. Some of the guys who haven't necessarily always been work first, who may be a bit jokey, maybe a bit gregarious, maybe a bit loose at the wrong times, are gone. I'll let you figure out who they are. There have been at least a couple that I think of off the top of my head. Those guys, when the Penguins had the choice, were moved along. So I think Jarry has that hurdle. Casey DeSmith is a happy-go-lucky guy, but he also has that serious streak when he's at work. He's also 28 now as well. So I think the Penguins wanted, Mike Sullivan wanted that serious streak in Tristan Jarry. That guy. Thoughts on Zach Aston Reese, Bluger, and the Tanev line? Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for the question, man. Love it. Absolutely love what Tanev has brought to the Penguins. Absolutely, I think Zach Aston Reese, when he gets some good luck, is going to go on a tear. I mean, I'm talking point per game for 2 or 3 weeks kind of tear. I also wrote about that as well. I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch that on Tuesday as well. Tuesday was kind of a slow traffic day for us at Pittsburgh Hockey Now because I went into the weeds with Tristan Jarry and Zach Aston Reese. And those aren't necessarily the players you want to read or talk about, but I thought those were the most interesting stories and what we wanted to talk about on Tuesday. I thought it was important for those of you who really want to know the full and complete picture to get to those stories. I'd like to see a bit more offense from them, but I've just seen too many good things. When they get bumped back down to the fourth line, and they're going to dominate fourth line opponents. Good gosh almighty. Adrian says he feels bad for DeSmith. His numbers in the AHL prove that he has lost some confidence. Yeah. Plus, Wilkes-Barre is better than last year. But Wilkes-Barre's best defenseman is a Penguin now. Actually, Wilkes-Barre's best 2 defensemen. Juuso Riikola, John Marino. Zach Trotman is just returning to Wilkes-Barre. So really, I think the planned summer acquisitions of those guys were for Wilkes-Barre. I don't know. I think Riikola was going to be in the NHL as the 7th defenseman, but Marino and Trotman were supposed to be in the American Hockey League. So I think once that blue line in Wilkes-Barre picks up, I think you'll see DeSmith's numbers go up. But did DeSmith lose confidence, or is DeSmith suffering from a case of Dante-itis? Dante from Clerks. I'm not even supposed to be here today. I kind of feel like that's where DeSmith, it's where I would be anyway. If the way things went down, if the Penguins were trying to make a trade and keep DeSmith in the NHL and it all fell through, he went to the AHL expecting to come back very soon and it never materialized, yeah, I'd be a little salty, might not be the most appropriate word, but I'd be a little dejected. I don't think I'd be on my mental game as well as I could be. All right. Tom Wilson eats urinal cakes. Welcome back, sir. New setup, Dan. I'm late to the party. Yep. What do you think of the brand new studio here? Here, Mr. Wilson, that's my grandson, Leo. I think you know the Beatles. There are some irrelevant bobbleheads. Freddie Sanchez. Actually, they're both Freddie Sanchez, along with Mario Lemieux and Mike Lang. I have a weird stash of bobbleheads that I either couldn't sell, wouldn't sell, or just found in a bin somewhere. Yep. Love the wooden desk I've been keeping in storage, too. It weighs about 100 pounds, so I was not dragging it up 19 flights of stairs to the Market Square studios. That's for sure. All right, so one guy I think we have to talk about a little bit more here, kind of pulling it all together. We talk about the Penguins getting healthy, as we talk about Penguins trade rumors. Evgeny Malkin is going to be the straw that stirs the drink. Not in terms of trading Evgeny Malkin. No. Do not misunderstand. Oh, Tom Wilson. Oh, Mutation says, it's not bad. Well, geez, thanks. You're not bad either, Mutation. But anyway, Evgeny Malkin is going to be the straw that stirs the Penguins' drink because he's going to allow Nick Bjugstad and Patrick Hornquist to be a dominant third line. His return will allow Teddy Bluger, Zach Aston Reese, and whatever winger they put with them, maybe Tanev, maybe Rust, maybe Cahoon, to be a dominant fourth line. Everything is going to kind of spring from that. Look, right now, Crosby is carrying the Penguins. Sidney Crosby is absolutely, he has put the Penguins on his back and said, let's go, boys. And some nights that works. Other nights, if Crosby and Gensel can't generate 2 and 3 points, the Penguins are in trouble because they just don't have enough offense elsewhere in the lineup. They just don't, right? Hey, do me a favor, everybody. Give me a like on the video if you're enjoying it so far. Also, share it via Twitter, too. The rule on Pittsburgh Hockey Now, if you give me the thumbs down, you got to tell me why. Got to tell me why. I'm thin-skinned. I'm all of that. Mateo says, hey, love the Pens grit, win or loose. They have a lot of moxie this year with these young guys and Tanev. Yeah, that they do. In a way, I'm jealous of my competition. And you've kind of reminded me of something, Mateo, and I'm going to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Because Pittsburgh Hockey Now produces hockey content 365 days a year, I have been cranking out, literally, by last year in January for the season, I had published more words than the Bible, just me. Me alone, that's not counting Shelley and Michael Doomer, who writes our post games, and he'll be expanding his role with Pittsburgh Hockey Now. This year, I'm on a much greater pace than I was even last year. I'll probably hit 500,000 words in December this year if I haven't already. These are the things I've been talking about since August, Mateo. And I'm jealous of my competition because they didn't have to publish back in August, right? The newspapers, nobody was reading the newspaper in August for Penguins news. So now they can kind of come to this epiphany and be like, look, and their readers go, oh, wow, that's a great, yeah, you're right. Great point. And I'm like, Arr! We were talking about that all 3 months ago, and I'm not please, and I'm not downgrading anybody. It's just kind of the shortcomings of the market position we're in that I can't take 2 months off, and so Pittsburgh Hockey Now is publishing a lot of analysis at a time when no one's reading it. When we're in the doldrums of August, when everyone's paying attention to training camp and Pitt and Penn State. Hey, was that a goal at the end of regulation? I thought it was. Well, Twuk, Tweuc. Tom Wilson needs your okay. Yeah, well, Twuk, I think so too. Thought being the key word. I don't think there was any way to definitively feel good about calling that a goal. As much as I think we all thought it did, as much as Sidney Crosby thought it crossed the line, and it was so fast that, yeah, we think so, but we don't know so. The NHL has the technology, by the way. And Sidney Crosby alluded to this Wednesday night in the locker room postgame. He's like, there has to be a technology where we can know. There is! The NHL has already experimented and tested chips, like little microchips, in the puck. They know it works. The reason they have not yet implemented these new, like an electronic puck, essentially, is cost. Gary Bettman, in one of his rambling State of the Unions, and forgive me, Gary, those go on for over an hour. I don't think Bill Clinton spoke that long in his State of the Union addresses. Said, well, at $15, $17 a puck, they go into the stands. Well, we've lost that puck. That's the NHL's reasoning for not having a chip in the puck to definitively determine if it crossed the line, because it would cost about $15 a puck. How tough is it to instruct the ushers to walk over to the fans and say, hi, that's a microchip puck. You can't keep it. Here is an autographed Sidney Crosby puck instead. Done! $17, $15 puck recovered. Whip it back down on the ice and go back to playing. You can do that. Look, do they not? They used to anyway, retrieve the footballs from NFL stadiums. I think they retrieve tennis balls, at least they used to. Like at the U.S. Open, an overhead slam bounces up into the stands at Arthur Ashe. They go get the tennis ball. There's no riots. Fans understand the game. You tell the fans, okay, you can't keep what you catch. You got to give it back. We'll in some way compensate you. We decide the compensation, not you. End of story. Done. That's how you do it. But of course, the NHL, as they too often do, have not been able to think outside the box or even inside the box or outside the glass, however you want to phrase it. Okay, so we've been doing 44 minutes. Holy bejesus. Thank you all for keeping the chats coming. Let's see here. Yeah, it's been too long since we had a live chat. I will tell you, I am sitting here cringing that I'm doing this show and not writing. I think, like I mentioned, I work at least bare minimum 12 hours a day, especially during the weekdays. Usually well more than that. And if I'm not at work, I'm just like, I need to be at work. Let me go back to the chats here to make sure I haven't missed anybody. Hop on that chat board. The whole point of this is it is a live Penguins chat, not a live Penguins monologue. Oh, also, pretty cool thing for these live chats. The software on the iPad that we use for the studio, the new version of it allows us to use video chat. So we'll be able to have guests on, and we'll be able to go to a more traditional type podcast conversation rather than just me. Maybe I'll do one just me, and maybe I do miss being in radio. I listen to Pittsburgh radio, and I'm not going to bash anybody or anything. I will say that there is a space for more good sports talk. People who are on the ball, who are radio professionals, who know how to drive a show, who know how to create that theater of the mind. And I miss radio terribly. A lot of local politics in the Buddy Network prevent me from doing too much of it. So I enjoy doing these. So if I can find the time, I would love to kind of go back to my radio roots. And when I was a radio host, not in Pittsburgh, but I was in Toronto and NHL Network and Sportsnet and such. I was kind of the ringleader, having guests on the show, and I'd like to go back to that because it was just a lot of fun, and that's probably where my strengths lie as a radio host too. All right, do me a favor, hit me with a little bit more, because in terms of trade rumors, I think anything else I would put out at this point, I have to respect my position as also a beat reporter in the locker room, doing stories, doing news. I can't dive headlong into speculation too deeply, and I hope you can appreciate that. I have to keep it somewhat on the bounds of things that I've been told and things whispered to us. In terms of what the Penguins can get, boy, they will have to deal an asset to get an asset. That's going to be the tough part, because they need to trade defensemen, but the defensemen they're going to trade will not bring them back what they need. The Penguins are most definitely going to need some additional scoring pop in their lineup. There is plenty of grit. There's plenty of speed. There is just a metric ton of stick-to-itiveness and playing the right way. When the Penguins get healthy, they are going to be one hell of a dynamic, tough-to-play-against team. They're going to lose some games, though, when bounces go against them and they can't. They'll have a tougher time coming back than they have in years past, when they can kind of throw it into that offensive gear and have the ability to score 4 or 5 goals far more easily than they're going to this year. This year, they're going to be very much in that New York Islanders mold of last season. The Islanders got on you, you were done. It was over. The Penguins very much can emulate that. And they've got the offensive talent to get that first goal or two. And then really just strangle teams. If they get behind and they have to open it up, I don't necessarily know if anybody, the Crosby line can open up a bit, and Malkin and Galchenyuk, when they finally come back, certainly can open up. But can Bukestad, can Bluger, can the team as a whole find that line to walk between playing responsibly with extra offensive pressure? Because a lot of that also comes from the blue line. Don't forget that low to high game, getting the puck down low, creating space at the top of the zone. If the Penguins have a Jack Johnson, Eric Goodbranson third pairing, well, that's not going to aid that low to high game or aid offense from the blue line. So there's a lot of things for the Penguins to consider. They're in a good place, but it'll be very difficult for them to get better unless somebody really wants one of their assets. If Jarry starts a few more games like this, yeah, they probably could get something in return for Tristan Jarry. They probably could get something in return for Brian Rust or Nick Bukestad or Patrick Hornquist or Jared McCann. That's probably it's probably where the line is drawn. Anything else? Maybe Alex Galchenyuk. I'll tell you what, though. If I were a GM, I'd kick tires on Dominic Simone. I mean, here's a kid making $750,000 who makes Sidney Crosby 10 to 20% better. What are you going to do? I mean, if I can get a guy who makes darn near the league minimum, who makes my top line 10 or 20% better, home run ball. So I think we're going to just about wrap it up. Last call for questions and comments here on the chat board. Go ahead and pop them in. We'll be doing this weekly. Evenings, most likely, going forward. The Penguins have had a lot of Wednesday games. I think they've had 3 Wednesday games already, which is why we haven't done a chat on Wednesday. I'd like to do them on Wednesday. That gives you Thursday and Friday to watch, but we'll see about the Penguins' schedule going forward, whether it's a Wednesday or Thursday, so keep your calendars open and join us. Okay, going once, going twice. Last call for comments on the message board. All right. So that is going to do it. I am, you know what? I forgot to put my name back up here. My ego has, do me a favor. There's the Twitter. There is the YouTube channel. There's this guy. Okay. This will be on the website. You can actually kind of listen to this as a podcast in the car, if you ever want to do that in the future as well. Just you got your phone synced to your radio. Just turn on YouTube and drive away, and the sound will play. All right, kids, that's it for me. Has the video been freezing that long? Oh, man, I'm sorry. Okay, time to go. Have fun. We'll talk again next week. Check out PittsburghHockeyNow.com. Until then, have fun.